It's a really interesting question. So in my dot-com days, a part of the sort of tick box exercise back then was have American office, right? So we did, and we had an American office in Austin, Texas, which is it was a wonderful place. There's a university there that produces lots of great graduates, and the climate's quite favourable, and there's a decent row of bars, and you could smoke in them at the time as well, which we all did in those days. It was a tremendous failure. It didn't work for us. We helicoptered a lot of British, English guys over there mostly, and Americans. They buy from Americans, French buy from French, Germans buy from Germans. So actually sending the public school boys out to the US is rarely successful. They love the accents, but we're often portrayed as the villains in the movies, and there's a reason for that, right? So, so I learned that lesson. We did much more homework this time. We supported I went out with a fellow founder, a guy called Giles, out to the States about 18 months or so ago, and we spoke to a lot of companies. We did our dog and pony show. We showed them what we did, and we were surprised that the levels of inefficiency in American corporations are rather greater than those in European corporations, particularly in the UK. Can't quite explain it. I suspect the UK is quite small and quite crowded, so therefore efficiencies tend to be squeezed rather more easily than in larger economies. It's my instinct. But we were finding appointment failure rates, and I won't name the companies, but appointment failure rates in some US corporations that were running at 20 or 30%. I mean, really quite extraordinary, and a very, very expensive problem. So we were reassured by what we found. But what we didn't do then was helicopter a load of people into the US. We picked up a market trial, a proof of concept, a pilot if you like, with well, what is one of the largest telcos in the world, to solve a very specific problem, which was stopping unnecessary truck rolls. So stopping the visit to fix something when the thing that you're going to fix is already fixed. Right? You get this at home, right? Your broadband goes down, you're not sure why. It's because someone crashed into a box in the street or a digger pulled up the cable. It magically fixes itself, but in the meantime you've called a truck in, someone turns up and you say it's fine, it's all right now. So we stopped that problem. Now going back to winning with numbers, if you know the number, the amount it costs to send the truck out to somebody, and you can save that many, and then you multiply those two numbers together, you get a very large return on investment. And so we supported a market trial over a 3-month period, which never stopped. So our KPI was to hit a certain percentage in that 3-month period to justify our existence, and we hit it in the first 72 hours because this problem is a universal one. And really interesting, in the States, people answer questions in the way that you'd expect. They don't do it in the UK. So if you ask for yes or no answers to questions in the UK, people can't help themselves but adding stuff, right? In the States, for whatever reason, people are much, they follow instructions rather more readily, and they respond politely, mostly, which is something you notice when you go to the States. They are a country of terribly polite people. So we got phenomenal response rates. The pilot never stopped. It kept on expanding out into region after region after region until we nearly reached a national rollout position towards the tail end of last year. There was no question that that wouldn't then roll out to being a significant contract for us. So what we did is we saw this evidence being produced. We took a founder, Charles, and we placed him in the US. He has 4 kids and a wife, so that's a reasonably expensive thing to do. Less challenging if you know you're going to be successful when you arrive. So not what I did in Austin, Texas, right? Lovely bars, you could have a fag, all that, right? But not commercially successful. So we knew this was going to happen. And then we went out of our way to hire Americans. When we were out there as well, so the Americans can engage with the Americans, and it's grown like topsy from that point forward. So the lesson for us is one of do your homework, hire the right people, support it from the UK. To be fair to me, 18 months ago you couldn't do things like that, right? Because the cloud didn't exist, so there were a lot of technical reasons why it was difficult. Now there's no technical reason why you can't be successful in the US or Canada or Brazil or Australia. It doesn't matter. You can support it initially, then go out there when you've got some commercial traction.